At any age, your parents coming to you and saying, we're going to get a divorce, it can be quite traumatic, even if you're 20 and your parents have been together for 38 years.
Divorce is hard no matter what age you are. Doesn't matter.
Today, we're going to hear about one man's struggle through it on My Crazy Family.
My crazy family.
My
Crazy
family.
Welcome to the program. Be sure to press subscribe on Apple Podcasts and get our program commercial-free and get advanced episodes of the show weeks before they're released to everybody else. And you get the archive, all of it ad-free. You can binge away on this stuff back to back to back to back. And thank you if you've already signed up there on Apple Podcasts. You can even try it for 3 days free. Do check that out. We'll have a option for non-Apple Podcast users soon as well. It's Tony and Stacey Cole with you on today's episode of the program. What's going on?
Hey, we're getting to the holiday season. I sound like a broken record, but man, if you'd like $500 in your pocket from Amazon, boy, do we have a way for you to do it. We're just asking you to review our podcast, take a screenshot of it, and then send it to contest@crazyfampod.com. I just spent $100 at Amazon just buying like some regular stuff. I could use this gift card. Can I send in?
Unfortunately, you're not qualified to win because you're part of the program.
Oh, all right.
But,
well, I had to check.
My mom absolutely hated it when I started working in radio because
she couldn't win things.
Oh my God. My mom was what would be known as what we called in radio at the time, a prize pig.
Prize pig.
Now, is it appropriate to say that? Is it shaming to pigs? Probably. But it was what was the terminology used, and they knew who she was when I started there. They're like,
"Oh no,
like, oh, your mom's Peggy." I'm like, yeah. Oh, she wins all, and she did. Like, she had a calendar on the fridge, and it marked down like what radio station she won a contest on and what date she could play again. And she followed the rules. I'll give her that, because a lot of prize pigs do not. They just hope that you'll not catch it. But she followed the rules pretty strict. But yeah, oh my gosh, there were so many things. I mean, had she not won half the stuff on the radio, quite honestly, we wouldn't have done a lot of stuff outside of the house. Because they didn't have a lot of extra disposable income. So going and eating at Rocky Rococo's and winning that pizza or whatever it may have been really provided a lot of socialness or being able to go out to eat in my childhood.
Did you ever talk to her about her obsession with winning radio prizes?
I think a little. I don't know that it was that much of an obsession as it was almost a necessity because they didn't have a lot of money. So if we wanted to go out to eat, we'd win a contest. And it was pretty easy to win a local radio contest. You know, it was like just trivia or things like that. And she liked trivia. And so she'd, play those sort of things. And yeah, there was so much going out to eat. It was, but every 30 days, depending on the contest and the station.
Absolutely. And, I will kind of give away a little secret here. If you want to get on the air, or if you want to have a chance to win something, all you have to do when you call a radio station is act really excited. Give that DJ something that they can air.
Exactly. If radio stations are still doing local contests where you live.
If they are.
Just sound good and sound excited. Like when they call and like, who's this? And they don't necessarily tell you what caller you are yet.
Hi, it's Christy. I'm calling from blah, blah, blah.
Guess what, Christy? You're caller 20. Even if you're caller 5, you're instantly caller 20.
Boom.
Because that's how a lot of that shit worked.
You bet it is. We just were looking for somebody that gave us good radio so that when our program director gave us our air check, meaning they sat down and replayed your show for you, they went, oh, that was a great winner.
Yeah, because then it was always, it was the worst if you ever did it live, but sometimes you had to, and you get the one like, oh, great. Thank you. I'm glad I won.
Thanks.
Okay.
Now, how you doing today? Fine.
Like, why did you even pick up the phone and call me? Like, I'm amazed you had the energy to do that in your negative world you're living in right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, you couldn't say that sort of stuff. Anyway, lovely things with people today on the show. If you want to share your crazy family story, it does not have to be of horrific murders and maimings or anything like that. Those are what we do on Fear Thy Family throughout the week. This can just be crazy normal things like, I don't know, abducting your family members. No, not even that. No, just what happened at Thanksgiving? What was the argument about? What happened? Who put the cat food in the Jell-O? Whatever it was, you can share it with us on our website, which is crazyfampod.com. That's crazyfampod.com, where you can call in your stories too at 833-CRAY-FAM. That's 833-272-9326. What do we got?
An interesting one to start off today's episode. This is from one of our listeners, one of our very faithful listeners. This person says, I have found the solution. So it's not necessarily a crazy family story, but it's how to cope with a crazy family.
Ooh, is this like The Secret, like the book that everybody used to read?
So.
And then it turned out to be a total fucking crazy thing and a bunch of people died?
We will find out. It says, I have found the solution. First, I must accept my family members exactly as they are right here, right now. This helped me let go of my resentments. One definition of resentment is to relive events over and over. The resentments I hold do not affect or change the other person. They have done the best they can. Certain people can't give me certain types of support. The well is dry. So I found some new wells. Then I changed my language. No one triggers me. I'm not a victim. As an adult, as a child, yes. People don't push my buttons. I'm the one who installed the buttons, and I'm the only one who can activate them. Oh, I kind of like that. It's kind of Oprah-like.
I like a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah. When I do, I already know what is behind the door. I lose my right to bitch and own my actions. Boundaries are for me, not other people. That gives them power. I see it like this. I don't have the power to control others, so I can't make others adhere to my boundaries. My mom, she is who she is. Whenever I choose to engage with her and not use my boundaries, I become entirely insane. I'm being snarky, self-righteous, angry, judgmental, and an actual steamroller. Why? Because our interactions leave me feeling horrible and guilty. I beat myself up, and I try to amend my behavior by visiting her, offering to do all sorts of stuff for her to ease my guilt, which is manipulative behavior and quite selfish of me. I start to believe the fear and lie that it is the core of my soul. I'm a terrible human being and unlovable. I seek constant validation from everyone and everything. I act like a needy child who is demanding attention and praise. This is heavy shit, but it's my heavy shit, not my mom's. My behavior and actions are the only things I look at because I am the only one who controls my reactions. I don't waste energy on my mom's actions at all. Because when I do, the loop starts over again, and my mind becomes a battlefield in an unwinnable war. It's simple, too. I forgot to accept my mom. I'm the one who doesn't respect my boundaries. And when I cross one of my boundaries, I am the crazy one. It's not my mom's fault or her issue. When I hold on to my boundaries, I'm humble. Humility, for me, is peace. It's me being okay with all my current circumstances and keeping myself in balance. Then I can clearly see my mom's behavior from a different perspective. It's not personal. She acts this way with everyone in my family. So when I sit down to call her, I make sure I'm on the beam. If things start going sideways, I change the topic or I get off the phone politely. My dog throws up frequently when I talk to my mom. And I have a feeling this is like in quotes, like, oh, the dog's puking, I gotta go. But I'm sure the dog's not puking. And if it is, you need to get it checked. Anyway, I don't visit her unless I have a reason. We do live in the same city. I check my motives when interacting with her. I make sure I'm keeping to my boundaries. I have a list of things we enjoy talking about or doing together, but I don't really engage with her. It's lonely at times, but all feelings are okay as long as they don't hurt anyone. I often don't pick up the phone when I see her name. My siblings don't understand why I choose not to spend holidays with her, which includes them as well. I don't need to defend my reasons. I don't need them to see it my way and validate me. I do miss out on a lot of family stuff. When this dynamic is in place, the children often pick up and use the same shitty coping skills. So I have boundaries with my siblings, and they are each different. Boundaries are walls. I've had to move some of the walls due to my mom's health decisions. She's 87, but I take it slow and easy. It has slightly changed my mom's behavior toward me, but it doesn't last. I'm not participating the majority of the time, but I will be honest here. Sometimes I'm on the phone with her and the behavior starts, and I pick it up. I tell her everything that's wrong with her and how I feel about it. It's like I'm floating out of my body and watching this spectacle. And it feels great at the moment. Nothing is better than feeling self-righteous over another. But it is sick, and I do get something out of it until the pain of changing is less than the pain of staying the same. My family nickname was the reactor. Well, now I try to respond instead. But it's crazy. It's hard work. I can see humor in most situations, and that helps. Crazy stories are fun, but there is work to be done behind it. I don't condone shitty behavior anymore. My mom does her best, and I love her as she is. But my kids have a healthy relationship and appreciation of me. They only witnessed my mom's manipulative behavior and guilt shaming toward me once. They were 21 and 23 years old. I was on the phone, and it was on speaker. Things went sideways unexpectedly, and they were shocked. They could not believe what they were hearing. They had never seen this side of her because of my boundaries. So thanks for letting me ramble. It's not a story, but I like being in the solutions. Hearing other solutions can be helpful. The show is great. Thanks again, Magpie.
I like a lot of that.
Yeah, I do too.
I do. I think there's certain things in there that sounds like they work for Magpie, and that's good, and others, works good for one, may not work for the other, but I think that they've really done some digging here into themselves to try and find a way to make some piece work where otherwise it's just hitting your head against a wall. And that can be the worst. And there's a lot of good things that are in there. Some of the things that really kind of stood out to me initially was the thought of, okay, letting go of a lot of things and letting go of the past and being there when in the present with them, not who they were, who you want them to be, and not holding on to the grudges of the past. I guess what I find difficult about that area is I completely agree. I try to live by that as much as I can. But what about when they don't? Because they're not going to live by anything you just said. But if they're not living by it, I guess that's what makes it, those difficult moments where, and I think it was described in there, they just kind of have to disconnect from them. They don't go to those family things all the time. And, basically, if you're on an active rail line that the trains plow through every day, you probably just can't set up tents on the rail lines and expect not to get hit by the train. You can watch and look and go close to the rail line, wave at the train every now and then, but don't camp there because you'll get run over. So I think that might be kind of how that's looked at.
What a great way to put it. We know the train's coming. We've seen the train. There are the tracks. We know that's exactly what's going to happen. And yet sometimes just because of how we were raised or it's just ingrained in us, we go sit on the tracks and we hope for a different outcome. And it's like, no, it's not going to happen. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's like if you're raised on the rail line, but you were on the train, so you're familiar with the atmosphere. You're familiar with it. It feels good. It feels there's a sense of familiarity to it. Mm-hmm. But when you're off the train now, and you can't get back on it, it's not the same just standing on the tracks. It may look similar. It may look like the train area where you are so happy and familiar, but you're not on the train anymore, and now it's dangerous. So stand off to the side and wave. Unless you're on another train, although the trains do collide sometimes too. So.
Yeah, they do, and they derail. So but it's a great analogy. I really like that.
Just made that up. The other part that I really liked was the identifying of not being the victim. That is something I'd love to scream on a megaphone as I walk through Walmart, or any other large gathering of human beings, that you can just tell just by the behavior, or if you just stand around and listen for a few minutes. There is such a victim mentality with everybody over everything. Nobody can just cope and self-reflect and figure out a way to deal with it and go forward. It seems the most common way of dealing with it is deflect, don't take any blame, and then post about it online. That's what I love too. It's like there's nothing worse than somebody starts airing their grievances with somebody anonymously online. It's like, oh, this is called passive aggressive behavior, and you're not any better than the person that's doing it to you. I mean, maybe it's a cry for help or a scream for help, but you know what? There's ways of getting help without crying or screaming. And that's something that we so overlook so many times. We think there's like this door, this wall, and my only options are this. No, you can also go to yourself and say, you know what? That was shitty. That was horrible. There's some trauma that was left with me, but that's not going to define me. I'm not going to be the fucking victim of this or that. And yes, there are horrible things where people are victims, but then too, in order to pick yourself up and move on with your own life for your own mental well-being, it's not to become the victim as your identity. And I think so many people are so ingrained in being the victim of everything, and everything's against them, and this is not fair, and that's not fair. And tell me about it. You know what? We all struggle. We all go through difficult things. We've all had, a lot of us have had very difficult times in life, financially and whatnot. Some people have not. But the way that you grow and you get better at that and you're not feeling that way is to not be the fucking victim. And that's so harsh and horrible. No, it's not. If you'd like to have a happier life, start adopting that to everything that happens to you. Plenty of shitty things that happen. You get hit with shit left and right. Believe me, been there. Still deal with it. And I see it with many other people that are close to me. But the most happy and successful people that are going forward are not the ones being the victim about it. They're that's life. I got to do this to get forward, and I got better things on the horizon. I'm not going to get stuck with this shit.
Well, and it's interesting too. I really like. I think sometimes the victim mentality, it becomes a lifestyle.
Exactly.
Like akin to country music, where you wear the hat and the boots. If you're a victim, you're wearing it on your sleeve. Everybody sees it. Everybody is aware that you're a victim of some sort.
Instead, take the time to heal and not be a victim. Healing is not, being a victim is not part of the healing process. So, and that's always important. Do take the time to heal from whatever is going on or whatever has happened, but do it in a positive light without being a victim. There's a whole difference there.
Absolutely. And you do need to take the time to heal from whatever traumatized you. I think that's a really important thing. But you also, at some point, need to let go of that trauma and that victimhood and say, okay, this fucked with me. I dealt with it, and here I am. It made me who I am today, and that you just have to live with it and just go with it. That's what trauma does to you, and you just move on.
I completely agree. If you want to share your crazy family story with us, or observation, or look into our minds and our souls like that was, which I really liked. I thought that was a really interesting way. I really did. I'm actually going to go back and read that again. I think I'm going to keep that around because there's a lot of parts of that kind of spoke to me. 1-833-CRAY-FAM, 1-833-CRAY-FAM. Or 833-272-9326 to share your crazy family story with us, or go to our website, crazyfampod.com, and submit it right there. We would love to see your story and share it on the air anonymously. What we got going on next?
Well, the next one, it says, I'm 20 and my parents are divorcing after 38 years of marriage. I found out a few weeks ago that they were planning on it. Just last week, though, they confirmed that they are going through with it. For the past few weeks, I've been selfish and just thinking about myself in my own world. The only reason I know this is because my close friend has been calling me out on it. Is it normal to be like this? I feel like since I'm 20, I'm supposed to have this sense of maturity over it, but I just feel kind of lost right now. Lots of anxiety and being in my own head. I guess I just want some affirmation that these feelings are normal. Yeah, they're very normal.
Yeah.
I mean, your family's falling apart.
Yeah, I mean, that's all very normal. And I think the big thing to remember with this is to, allow yourself to feel this stuff. Don't let it take you out of control into a deep, dark depression in the corner that you can't get out of. but basically allow yourself the time to feel what you need to feel and say it's okay. I think a lot of times we fall into those deep corners because we don't allow ourselves the time at the time to do those sort of things. And then it builds up and it builds up and it builds up and it makes you fall that much further down the road. So give yourself the ample time to grieve and feel it. And I mean, it is a loss. It is a loss. It is what it is. It's a total change in what you knew. So take the time to feel it, but you keep moving along and keep moving ahead, and just think, it is, for the best a lot of times with people. And they're the best. Those two are the ones who be the best judge of it over anybody else.
And I was going to say that too, that, it's sad when divorce happens, but sometimes it's a good thing.
Yes.
It's hard to go through. Yeah. But it's a good thing. It's a necessary thing because, if two people aren't getting along and it's just constant, whatever it is, constant, stress and tension and fighting and
abuse.
It's an okay thing to be done and say, this isn't working and we need to figure something else out. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. It is. And sometimes, whatever it is, and it's not always ending like that. Sometimes it's just, two people grow apart and they, rather than make each other's lives hell, just mutually call it and say, this is just not what I want. I want goodness for you, and I hope you want the same for me, and you can kind of make that happen. Unfortunately, that's not usually how it works out.
No. And, I imagine as a 20-year-old, it's got to be pretty painful. You made it through your teen years, and now all of a sudden, wait a minute, everything's changing.
It'd be so weird for me if that were to happen at this point, because it's like, and I don't envision that ever happening, but yeah, because they've been together since they were in high school, and they bicker all the time and stuff. And to me, it's like, I couldn't do this like this, where it's, and it's never like it's just how they talk is really kind of how it is. And it's just foreign to me, but I remember it from childhood too. And, nobody's ever yelling at anybody. Nobody's like ever like putting somebody down or this or that. It's just a lot of passive aggressive here and there. And I don't know. It's how they have a system and it works. And I guess that's great. It works for them because they do seem happy a lot of the time, but I don't know. I'm just like, what the fuck? I don't know.
I always remember back to Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah.
And the parents, just for them, it was normal. And I've known couples that's how they operate.
Yeah.
Somebody looking from the outside in would be like, that is the most dysfunctional family I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. But for them, it works.
It's amazing how extreme some things can be. And I don't even want to say it is a version of functioning, because I think it's more like you're going into abuse territory, and the people that will demonstrate it out in the open and think it's totally okay. And I think they don't even realize that they're, number one, abusing their significant other. And neither does the significant other. If they do, they're not speaking out loud about it. I've seen a couple people this past year like that, going out and here and there. And it's like, how on earth do they function? And like, and it's scary. It is scary what people will put up with. But I think we all, many times in our lives, look back and look at ourselves and say, it's scary what I put up with. So hindsight's always 20/20.
Well, I know you and I have both been in those situations where you just kind of look back and go, wow, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You get used to it.
You do. I think that, like I always say, the thing that you always got to look out for is if you feel like you might be like just minutes away from being on an episode of Dateline, it's time to do something. Time to pull the ripcord and then say, oh, time for something new. Let's go to another story. What do we got for our next one?
Our next one, and I just want to be kind to those who might be triggered by the mention of rape. Our next one does mention it. But if you feel like you can get through it, it's an interesting take on things. There was no rape, It was just that it was mentioned. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. It goes on to say, it feels like whenever me and my mom get into a fight and I express to her how I feel about things, she says, things that she says, and the way that she says them, she always turns it around to act like she's trying to help me and prepare me for the real world. Like today, we were in the car and she brought up a disagreement we had about a week ago. I am female and 17. My mom is 51. She lives in an okay part of town, but they're still sketchy people, so whatever. I don't care. I decided to spend the week at my mom's house because the week prior she had been struggling with her mental health, and I wanted to be there for her. So fast forward the day I'm leaving. I'm about to leave. I'm packing my stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go home, and I'm just going to leave my PJs on. I had on a spaghetti strap shirt and shorts. I walked to the car and put my stuff in there, and my mom goes crazy telling me how I need to cover up and how I'm a slut and how I'm going to get raped if I don't put on clothes. I mean, she just calls me all these mean names. And of course, I tell her that I understand what she's saying, but telling me that I'm going to get raped and basically telling me that it's going to be my fault is going too far. And then she starts gaslighting me into thinking that I'm just trying to make her seem like the bad guy and that I'm too sensitive, and that's my problem. So my mom will say the most hurtful crap and then be like, I'm preparing you for the real world. You're a beautiful girl. I don't know why you'd see that. Like, she didn't spend the majority of my childhood telling me how ugly and lazy and disgusting I am. It's like when I tell someone in my life, like my dad or brother, they always agree with her and tell me I'm being dramatic and that I'm too sensitive, need to grow up and get ready for the real world. Am I crazy? Is my mom just trying to look out for me? And am I being dramatic, or am I valid for feeling this way?
You are the child of a narcissistic mother with narcissistic personality disorder, likely. But you are not the favored child, is what you are. The other ones are the favored. You are not. The ones that fall in the path of the non-favored child with people with this disorder describe exactly the same sort of scenarios you've just described in their childhood. This is what they do. So you're not crazy, but you are par for the course for someone with like your mother.
Yeah. And to traumatize your kid by giving them a worst case scenario that because you're wearing your pajamas out, to your car, that you're going to be assaulted. That's really some scary shit.
It is. I mean, it's very scary shit. And it's totally, I mean, the mother is what she's doing. She's trying to create chaos because, number one, that's what her goal is here. So she sees a girl that's dressed, a little more revealing than other times or whatnot. But if she's literally just running to the car and back or something, I don't think that's unless you're in a really dangerous, horrible part of town and there's rapists right in your, sitting on your doorstep. I don't think that's a big deal. But, I guess it's about context of like where one is to go. Now, no one should ever, be saying that sort of shit to someone like you're going to get raped and you're such a slut. I mean, that's not a concerning, that's not a loving, caring gesture whatsoever. It doesn't even fall into that realm. It's not a, hey, you're going to kind of a scary part of town. I know there's been a lot of, reports of rapes in that area. Just be careful and, try not to be, attracting attention from the wrong type of people. That would be a more appropriate way of saying it.
Well, yeah, I'm concerned about your safety. Calling your daughter a slut because she's wearing her pajamas.
Yeah.
This girl's going to need some serious help because why is mom calling daughter a slut?
Well, exactly. I mean, it's completely off the fucking charts of appropriateness whatsoever. In the context of the way this was, there's be no way to even say, like, I know you're going down, but don't dress like a hooker because there's a lot of hookers downstairs and you kind of look like a hooker and you're a slut. I mean, there's probably a lot of personality disorders going on here. Histrionic also comes to mind, where it's all kind of in that road of narcissism. But just some have, special monsters and over here and some have special monsters over there. that make these people act out the way they are. The lashing out like that and then really pulling it back and almost having no, almost like even like recollection of what they just said or what they just did, or their recollection is so skewed in their memory that they really honestly believe they didn't just treat somebody like that. I mean, that's sometimes I think the only way that some of these people are able to operate.
Yeah. And, I'm going back and rereading this. My mom will say the most hurtful crap and then be like, I'm preparing you for the real world. You're a beautiful girl. I don't know why you see that. Wow. Yeah. I mean, talk about just them rewinding the tape and being like, I don't know why you see it like that. I think you're a beautiful girl.
Yeah. I mean, it's you're crazy. That's not what I'm doing at all. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's essentially the same what she's doing, because the thing is, these are two adults now, or we're very close to being adult.
Mm-hmm.
There's no longer the need to, if you see the child running towards the fireplace that has the open door, of screaming, like, stop, in the most dramatic way possible to scare the shit out of that child so they literally collapse on the ground. That's one thing. But if you're talking to your 17-year-old daughter and you start saying, you're such a slut, why are you dressing like that? That's the equivalency of doing that at that age.
Yeah, you're right.
It's going to be met with the same amount of being able to take in what's happening. It just immediately shocks the system because it's so fucking far out there. And you feel the hurt and the pain immediately that you're not able to then take in any of the next lines of hurtful things that they're going to say. You hear them, but it just becomes a waterfall of shit, which would be the same sort of thing when the parent screams at you when you're about to run into the fireplace and you fall on the ground. They don't hear, oh my gosh, you almost went into the fire. You just like, you're kind of dazed. You're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, this 17-year-old needs to look toward the future and look for a way to get away from mom, distance herself a little bit. And, she did mention that mom was dealing with some mental health issues. So we don't know what the extent of those are, but it sounds like there's a lot going on here.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at that with the fire analogy, both are traumatic. One is traumatic for survival. The other is not. It's just to make someone just feel like shit. But both traumatic in the same sort of way. So, yeah, there you go. Good times, lovely mom stories, and just makes you really excited for Mother's Day.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, yes, that. And actually, this is airing after Thanksgiving.
Is it? Okay, well,
so
then we'll have lots
Christmas.
of stories.
Yeah, Christmas would be our next one that we'll be going into. So that's going to wrap up today's episode. Again, if you have a story, we would love to hear it. Write in at crazyfampod.com or 1-833-CRAY-FAM and share your story with us. And subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We can get 3 days free of our premium channel and get all the stories in advance, ad-free as well. Until next time. For Stacy, I'm Tony. Thanks for listening to My Crazy Family.
My crazy
Crazy family.
family. My crazy
Family.